bleeding.
This is the exact moment when a husband makes a horrifying discovery about his family's death, but what awaited is much more terrifying.
911, where's your emergency?
My wife, my family is bleeding. They're on the ground. They're on the ground, they're bleeding.
Sir, how many people are down?
Four.
As the officers enter the house of horrors, they are baffled by the sight that unfolds before them.
So I got a gunshot wound to the top of the head. Another person in the bed here, a lot of blood. What's that?
It was one of the most gruesome scenes, probably the most gruesome scene I've been a part of. Bloody footprints throughout the apartment.
However, this is just the beginning of one of the sinister plots that would leave even the most seasoned officers shocked.
We have 4 victims with no signs of life.
On April 28, 2019, Ohio police received a frantic call from the Westchester area. On the other end was a man desperately seeking help for his family.
Hello, 911.
Yes, my son.
Where are you at? I will send help, but I need to know what's going on. Can you say it again?
My wife, my family is bleeding.
Your wife and your family are doing what?
They're on the ground. They're on the ground, they're bleeding.
Okay, have they been shot? Have they been stabbed?
I don't know. I don't believe it. Bleeding so bad.
Can you go check to see if they're breathing?
No. I can't.
Upon receiving this information, the officers raced to his apartment while the dispatcher directed the distraught man to meet them.
Okay, all right, go out and meet my officer. They're out front. Honey, go meet my officer out front, please, okay?
The officers rushed to his apartment, the site of the reported fatal incident, only to find a man standing at the entrance. At that moment, it was unclear who he was. Was he the frantic caller or the sinister perpetrator? Since the cops were not very sure about his intentions, they had to be extra cautious.
Down on the ground. Down your belly. I'm gonna step around him. I got cover. What happened?
I don't know. Everybody's bleeding.
This devastated person was identified as 37-year-old Gurpreet Singh, Indian origin man who lived here with his wife and 3 kids, along with his in-laws and his wife's aunt, who was visiting from India at the time.
Is there anybody else in there except for your family?
No. Everybody's bleeding.
You got cover? Come up here.
After securing the entrance, the officers noticed some unusual things. Gurpreet had no shoes on, and his hands, t-shirt, arms, and bare socks were covered in saturated blood.
Why are you covering so much blood?
I have my wife on my lap. She helped me try to be the water.
Okay, stay there.
I'm not going anywhere. Please help them.
Officers were on the move as the people inside the home could be in danger, or the killer could still be inside. Without wasting any time, they would enter the apartment, but what awaited them would be nothing short of a horror movie.
320 got smoke coming from inside, and we're gonna make an entry. Westchester Police, anybody in?
The smoke alarm of the home was going off. The officers started searching through the house to find the suspect, but instead they made one of the most horrific discoveries of their careers.
So I got a gunshot wound to the top of the head. Another person in the bed here, a lot of blood. What's that?
It was one of the most gruesome scenes, probably the most gruesome scene I've been a part of. Obviously, there were 4 deceased people inside with multiple gunshot wounds, bloody footprints throughout the apartment.
The victims were identified as Gurpreet Singh's 39-year-old wife, Shailenderjeet Kaur, her mother, 62-year-old Parmjeet Kaur, her 59-year-old father, Hakikat Singh Panag, and 58-year-old aunt Amarjeet Kaur. All of them were also of Indian origin, living in USA. The only person who could give them some information was Gurpreet, the man who had just found his entire family dead.
Do you have any idea what happened here?
I go home. I walk inside. My wife, my mom, and my aunt are all on the ground, bleeding.
Gurpreet was visibly distraught with the loss of his loved ones. The officers navigated him to the police van in an attempt to make him feel somewhat relaxed so that he could give them some information about the incident.
Can I see my wife? Not right now, sir. It's okay. Okay, please tell me. if she's okay.
Is your wife one of the people that's in here?
My wife,
deceased.
my mom, dad.
Everybody inside's deceased.
What is that?
Dead. Okay? That's why it's very, very important for you to hold together and help me out so we can figure out what happened tonight, okay, Gary? I need you to be strong for me, Gary. Okay?
My aunt, okay.
Was your aunt in there?
I see her. She bleed.
Yeah, she passed. She's deceased.
She what?
Deceased, dead.
Already shaken by the devastating discovery, he asked the officers a question that left them even more concerned.
My kids.
Where are your kids at?
My kids with my brother and my sister.
Gurpreet had 3 kids with his wife, and the only slightly comforting news for the officers that night was that Gurpreet's kids were at his brother's place, safe and sound. But the cops still needed answers. After gathering all the information about Gurpreet's family, an immediate investigation was launched. Firstly, they focused on the murder weapon used in this mass murder. To find this murder weapon, they interviewed the people around their apartment, and one neighbor had heard something that could be useful.
One of the neighbors in the apartment complex told the police that he had heard a splash, and so they brought a dive team in and searched the bottom of the lake.
The diving team indeed found a gun inside a retention pond behind the apartment, but the murderer had tried his best to hide his crime. The firearm they found in the pond had its serial number removed, which prevented law enforcement from tracking where it was purchased and who the last owner was. The officers still found something about the gun that linked it to the crime scene.
This particular firearm holds 17 rounds, and our victims in this case have been shot 16 times.
The DNA of Gurpreet's father-in-law was also found on the gun, but there were no fingerprints. This indicated that the killer had obtained it from the home itself, which brought another possible reason for this mass murder. These killings could have been a result of a hate crime. To dig more into the murder of 4 innocent people, the police took Gurpreet for an interview, as he was the one who had found them dead. As devastated Gurpreet sat in the interrogation room, he continuously pleaded with the officers to help his family.
Hello, how are you?
Sir, I am okay.
Okay,
Nothing wrong with me.
I understand.
I'm totally okay. You please help my family.
Yeah, we're helping. I know you've been through a lot, man. We're gonna take our time, okay?
The officers asked him to narrate whatever he had witnessed back at the crime scene when he entered his home. Too shaken to contribute useful information, Gurpreet's focus shifted to a strange pattern of behavior, reaching across the table to touch the detective's hand repeatedly during the interrogation.
It's very important to us to help us out.
I come back. I see my mom. Yes, I see my mom. And I see my wife. And I see my aunt. I see they bleed and they're on the ground. And I am just running, trying to shake them, trying to see. And I go inside my dad, I shake them, he bleeds. And no one talks. And then I call and I try to give them water. They don't drink. And I call 911. But sir, can you please tell me what happened? And why all this?
I don't know what happened. That's what we're trying to find out from you, what you saw, what you did today, where people were.
He was so traumatized by the series of events that happened back at his home that he had completely forgotten about the murders. The investigator once again narrated to him about the mass murder of his own family, in an attempt to extract any information he could provide about the killer.
I understand. You've been through a lot, man. I get it. I'm just trying to help me here.
I don't remember, sir.
Okay.
Please find out what happened.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened.
What happened?
Okay. Somebody killed your family.
Yes, but why?
I don't know. That's why I need your help.
The officer then asked him about any possible reason for someone to kill his family, but he denied everything. He even claimed that there was not a single reason why someone would want to kill his family.
I don't think anybody. I don't know why.
I know, but somebody did. So me and you, we need to figure out who it could have been.
So you're saying someone killed my family?
I think so.
Why?
With Gurpreet's family targeted and killed, solving the case hinged on understanding the timeline and motive. But there were more urgent and chilling questions to be answered first. Were the kids intentionally spared, or was their absence an accident? And were his kids still in danger?
I kind of got to take you back. I'm just trying to figure out who was where and how everyone came to be in the same place. Your brother came over. Okay, what's your brother's name?
Yeah, my brother came over. Maninder. So can I talk to him, please?
Well, right now we need to talk to you. It's very.
I just need to ask him if they're okay. That's all.
We can find out if please, if you will check on me. Go ahead and check on I'll check on him. Please like that.
Please.
Okay, Gary. I know you've been through a lot, man. I understand. I'm trying.
Please help my family.
I'm trying. I want you to help me get a timeline for Gary. Okay?
किसी गल की टेंशन ना लिया बस आप बहुत बड़ा काम हो गया था तू न्याणे सामी चंगा भैने तो भैने किड्डा काम हो गया सारे उत्ते खून नाल लुबड़े पए ने होर काम हो गया हाँ चल कोई ना न्याणे सामी चंगा मैं आना कहने मैं तो बार बार कही जाना नहीं मैं कुछ नहीं किया है
In a case so shocking and unexpected, everyone was under scrutiny. The sheer horror of the crime had left the community terrified, and the cops had to find any leads possible to solve this crime. That included confirming Gurpreet's alibi despite his overwhelming grief.
I want to fix on my truck because DOT stopped you. Looks like their lights not working.
Okay.
I go and I go and fix lights. I only pull like 3, maybe 4 lights out of trailer, look for wiring and everything. And I couldn't see. It was getting darker and my back was getting bad again because of cold wind. And my back was hurting all day.
Have a drug problem?
No, sir. Not at all.
Pills, marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine.
Sir, I am 37 years old. I have never touched alcohol, tobacco. The hardest drink I drink is tea, coffee.
Did you guys owe anybody money?
No.
Has your wife ever been unfaithful to you?
Always faithful, no problem.
Okay. Have you ever been unfaithful to your wife?
Always faithful, never problem.
Has your mom and your dad always been faithful?
Never problem. Sir, sorry to interrupt you. It doesn't happen in Punjabi culture.
Okay.
Yes, but if it does, then it won't be cheating. It will be complete separation. It won't be like wife or husband are cheating but still living together. No. If they're together, otherwise they're left.
Bound by an arranged marriage, Gurpreet and Shalinderjeet Kaur upheld the values of their Sikh community. The cops, having gone over Gurpreet's history and the events leading up to the crime, couldn't ignore the weirdest thing they'd noticed at the crime scene. Gurpreet was barefoot.
When did your shoes come off? Right when I was trying to go to everyone, like go to her, go to him. Your shoes off? Yeah. I will help you. I provide you with everything you need, but you just find out what happened and why happened.
When you said as far as your shoes, do you remember what happened to them?
When I was running around, came off.
They just came off?
Yeah, because I don't tie my shoes really tight.
Okay.
I just take only a couple, maybe 3 holes, and the rest of the ways I just stick inside.
Are you used to doing it for like driving over the road? You take your shoes off while you're in the truck?
Not because I just wanted to take the shoes off. It's because it's easy. You slip out and slip in.
So if you find the person who did it, you would expect the worst punishment for him?
Yes. Because I know me and my family did nothing wrong to anybody. I've been a religion person for all my life. And look what happens. Where's God?
Right.
When it's time for me, what did I do wrong?
Can I get you some more water or anything right now?
I don't feel anything. That is about. I die too.
Gurpreet has discovered not just 1, but 4 people of his family were dead. The interrogation was progressing as smoothly as it could for such a sensitive situation, until detectives made a request. It would be the most unexpected reaction that would change everything.
So what I want to do, okay, is this is called a gunshot residue kit, okay? You all right?
Oh, I want to go home. I want to go home, you know, kids. Maybe they're in danger. I want to go home right now.
Okay, well, have a seat for me, okay?
No.
As soon as the test was mentioned, he became visibly uneasy and tried to find an excuse to step out. What was about to unfold next would set off alarm bells in the detectives' minds, hinting that this case was going to be more twisted than they initially suspected.
What did I do wrong?
Well, I'm not saying you did anything wrong.
That's why I'm saying.
But you're the first guy to show up where 4 people have been murdered.
Look, I'm covered in blood.
I understand.
You think this is so easy for me?
No, I think
this is my family's blood.
I think it's horrible.
But you're not doing anything about it. You're treating me like I'm a criminal.
We have an entire police department.
You haven't let me see my brother.
While it wasn't uncommon for close family members to feel uneasy or offended when questioned about a family murder, Gurpreet's discomfort had already alerted the detectives. They were now more certain than ever that he was keeping something from them.
Am I under arrest?
You're being detained.
What does that mean?
That means you can't leave until we get a search warrant.
Why not? What's my fault?
There's potential evidence on your hand.
Where?
I don't know.
I have been sitting here all day, get your potential.
Sit down.
No.
Here, you're not leaving.
Please, don't touch me. What did I do wrong?
Have a seat.
Why would I stay here?
Sir, please. I understand that, but there's no arguing about it. You're going to stay here, and that's final. That's it.
Okay, arrest me.
As soon as we get,
Arrest me.
you're under detain. You're in
No, I don't understand detaining or whatever.
Back in the room.
You arrest me?
You need to get back in this room.
Look, he told me now that my family was shot. I thought it was an accident.
That was an accident. 4 people died, and you thought it was an accident?
You bring your search warrant, you bring FBI, you bring your army on me, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not. This is my right, and I am using it.
While his behavior was undeniably suspicious, it wasn't enough to prove he was the killer. The police held him in detention until they secured a search warrant to collect samples from his hands and body. That's when yet another jaw-dropping coincidence would come to light that would only complicate the case even more.
First off, you don't know any guns. I'm not accusing you anything. You don't know any guns. So, you do. What do you want? It's like, Beretta. Beretta? What kind of Beretta? I can give it to you. Where is it? It's in your house. Yes. Okay, where is that in your house? You go in the block, you go in my bedroom, all the way, okay, go to the closet, It's in the closet in the corner. In the closet, in the corner box. Or did you sit there? It's in a box. Okay, in a box. It's in a okay. It's a small bag. And it's in a box, and the box is in the bag. Okay, where did you buy the gun from? I bought it from he's a family friend. How long you had the gun? 2 years. I would say 3-4 years. How often do you shoot it?
Gurpreet was free to leave, but this moment would only be a beginning to a horrifying unraveling of events.
He was out of custody for a couple of months while the police continued to conduct their investigation and wait for the lab results to come back.
While investigators are trained to interpret red flags, they also know grief and shock can mimic guilt. That's why, despite Gurpreet's behavior raising some concerns, the police didn't view him as a suspect. This baffling mass murder sent shockwaves across 2 countries, leaving investigators and the public grappling for answers.
There's still a mystery surrounding the murders of 4 people in a Westchester apartment.
It was a big deal in the Cincinnati area, a big deal nationally, and it was a big deal in India.
The Ohio police faced mounting pressure, not just across the nation but also internationally, as grieving families relentlessly demanded justice for their lost loved ones. The Sikh community in Ohio was equally determined to see justice served.
We are in shock for the last 2 months. He just killed our family. We only want a killer that should be hanged.
Gurpreet Singh himself led multiple marches alongside the Sikh community in Westchester, demanding justice. His family and friends traveled from across the country to support him, all united by one burning question: who could be the killer? However, despite relentless efforts, 2 months later, Ohio police still had no leads or suspects.
We don't have a suspect at this time. We have several people that we're going to follow up with and determine where their locations were and everything. But to say that we're looking at one person, no.
But just when the officers thought they had hit a dead end, a breakthrough information was about to be revealed. First responders drew attention to a part of Gurpreet's 911 call that had slipped under the radar.
Sounded like the male said he had hurt the family members, but when we asked him, he said he did not.
You say you killed them?
No, what are you talking about?
Sir, did you do something to them?
No, I just got home.
From that point on, the case was hit with one shocking revelation after another. But even the cops couldn't have predicted that the breakthrough they needed was right in front of them, all along. As Gurpreet's phone was searched, cops found multiple pictures of an unknown woman. It was Kiranpreet Kaur, who resided in Indianapolis. The detectives learned that the very person who was preaching about having no extramarital affairs just a few months back during the interrogation was having an affair. Not only this, but he had been even spending money on her. He was paying for her car, house, insurance, and he had even purchased a house nearby her house. However, the most intriguing thing the officers found was that she had contacted him about half a dozen times at the time of the murders. The police now started digging much deeper into all the aspects of the case related to him. They diligently looked for the reason why Gurpreet's kids were not at home when this incident happened, and that's when they discovered something shocking.
After 9 p.m., these kids are still not in the house. We came to learn from those cousins that it was Gurpreet Singh who had the idea for the kids to leave the house and to go out to eat and to spend time with their cousin.
Yet the biggest question persisted: what drove him to kill his family? The answer soon emerged as investigators uncovered his deep-seated personal disputes.
There was a meeting at Gurpreet's house, and Gurpreet was demanding money from the land deal that was happening in India.
From his girlfriend's expenses to his apartment and truck payments, Gurpreet was dealing with a heavy financial load. Gurpreet thought he could avoid the truth by refusing a second interview, but the detectives weren't giving up. They dug deeper, and the gunshot residue test results were about to give them their first breakthrough. It matched him to the crime. But the surprises didn't end there. Incriminating evidence surfaced, revealing a truth that would make him the prime suspect.
We knew that that call was placed at 9:40. The car was parked in the parking spot outside of his apartment at 9:09 p.m. The Google records for where the phone was located placed the phone inside the apartment at 9:11 p.m. and the 911 call came in at 9:40 p.m., which told me that he was home at the time of the murder. It was inescapable that Mr. Singh's statement about coming home and just finding his family murdered was so thoroughly unsupported, disproven by the electronic evidence, we decided that we needed to move forward with charges on him.
These revelations pushed the investigation to its climax as officers closed in on Gurpreet Singh. On July 2, 2019, he was dramatically arrested outside Walmart in Bradford, Connecticut, bringing the prime suspect of this chilling case into custody.
He was also charged with a death penalty specification for the purposeful killing of 2 or more people.
His arrest sent shockwaves through Gurpreet's community and family, shattering the image of the man they thought they knew. But the case was far from over.
The family members, like just about anyone, didn't want to believe that someone that they have known would carry out such a horrific act of violence.
Gurpreet Singh was charged with 4 counts of aggravated murder and firearm specifications. He pleaded not guilty to all of the charges. In October 2022, Gurpreet Singh went on a trial where the prosecutor argued that he deliberately killed his family. With the death penalty a real possibility, jury selection became even more critical. The prosecution pressed that because of his extramarital affair and financial troubles, he killed his family members.
This defendant, Gurpreet Singh, made a choice. He executed a plan to kill his entire family. In the years, months, weeks, and days leading up to these murders, despite this defendant telling the police that his marriage was great, but there were no problems, no infidelity, no issue. This defendant had been carrying on an affair with a woman in Indianapolis for some time.
Their strongest point to prove him guilty was his location at the time of the murder and his call to the police.
After you've heard all of the evidence, you will announce to this defendant that he has been held accountable. When you do that, by finding him guilty.
The defense, on the other hand, presented a completely different argument. They claimed that a group of known criminals who were part of a land mafia in India had attacked his family on that day.
3 men enter the door, they look around, one has a baseball bat in his hand. Gurpreet gets up and runs out the door. A man chases Gurpreet with a mask on.
But these claims were never supported by any testimony or evidence. Even the residents of Gurpreet's neighboring apartment did not hear anything. To further prove that nothing like that had happened there, prosecutors called the son of one of the men the defense had claimed was involved in the murders.
Is your father part of the Indian land mafia?
No, he's not.
They created a boogeyman. They found a scapegoat, someone who lived halfway around the world, where every single piece of evidence conclusively demonstrated that he had not entered the United States in quite some time.
I'm embarrassed to ask you, were you in any way involved in the murders of the Teacut, Parmjeet, Shalinderjeet, and Amarjeet?
No, sir.
To your knowledge, was your father involved?
No, sir.
Did your father call you on the phone and instruct you to do this?
No, sir.
Your Honor, I have no additional questions.
In Gurpreet's defense, the defendant cross-questioned his cousin about his possible involvement in the murder.
For the record, Gurpreet has never said that he killed his family. You know that?
Yes, sir.
Gurpreet never killed his family, correct?
No, sir.
Really question.
To build their case, the prosecution brought Gurpreet's mistress, Kiran Kaur, to the stand, assisted by an interpreter. The court agreed to her request for anonymity, allowing her to testify without showing her face during the proceedings.
You told us that the defendant gave you $20,000 towards the mortgage down payment so that you could get the house in your name. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would Gurpreet then ever give you money for these payments?
Gurpreet ne confessed before the payments was there? Yes.
Did the two of you ever discuss getting married?
I said to him that no, you have a family, you have kids.
She agreed on the fact that Gurpreet was indeed spending money on her. During this trial, Gurpreet decided not to take a stand on the recommendation of his defense. The prosecution presented their closing argument, quoting the main agenda for the killings as money and infidelity.
Money. Sex. Murder. This case has it all. This defendant, on Sunday, April 28th, 2019, murdered his entire family in their house. He arranged to have his kids away from the house with his cousins. And he worked his way that evening from family member to family member, executed. Then, after shooting them once, he returns and shoots them again to make sure they're dead. There is no evidence before us even establish the existence of an Indian land mafia or murder for hire. That story is patently ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All the evidence in this case leads to one person, and one person only. That's this defendant. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why he is guilty. Beyond any doubt.
Defense presented their closing argument on the grounds that just because Gurpreet lied to the police does not make him the murderer.
They are resting their case on the fact that Gurpreet was not completely openly honest by openly speaking and telling the police in every detail what happened. We're in the United States of America. We're in the United States of America. We don't have to talk to the police. Lying to the police is not a crime. And it's not a reason to convict someone of murder. If you have reason to doubt their theory, their hypothetical, the verdict is not guilty on all counts. Now is the time for me to pass the burden that our team has had on our shoulders for the past 3 years. And it is an immense burden. We have some life. I appreciate that. Thank you.
This was a capital case, meaning they were trying to kill Gurpreet, and as a result, the jury was sequestered. But on the second jury deliberation, there was a problem.
They reported that the vote was 11-1 in favor of guilt, but they were not hopeful that further deliberations would prove fruitful. The judge had no choice but to declare what is commonly referred to as a hung jury and had to declare a mistrial.
Gurpreet was relieved that there was a hung jury, but the prosecution was persistent. Despite the decision of mistrial, the prosecution applied for a retrial. Gurpreet's second trial began on February 10, 2023, and this time he opted for a 3-judges panel, or a bench trial, instead of a jury. The chief judge of this bench was the same judge who had presided over the first trial. This time again, prosecution presented their case like before, accusing Gurpreet of the murder of 4 people in Westchester.
They were alive until this defendant got home. All roads, Your Honors, will lead to this defendant. You will hear uncontroverted evidence that this defendant is the only person who had a reason to carry out these offenses. His affair and his repeated, continued demands for money. At the end of this case, Your Honors, we'll be asking you to hold this defendant accountable for these 4 murders and to find him guilty, because he is guilty.
However, this time Gurpreet had a new set of lawyers who presented a new theory in his defense altogether. This time, the defense claimed that Gurpreet did not run from there, but had witnessed the murder of his family.
Gurpreet is here quite simply because he lied. There's no way around that. He lied to the police. He lied to the police when he told them that he found his family, when in reality he was there and witnessed the brutality and the violence that Mr. Marshall described. I know what we are asking on a case of this magnitude, but please, I urge you to listen to what is presented and come to the conclusion that that man did not shoot anyone and he is not guilty of these offenses.
This tactic, however, did not work for him, as no documented evidence could prove him innocent.
State of Ohio versus Gurpreet Singh. We, the three-judge panel, unanimously find the defendant, Gurpreet Singh, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of aggravated murder.
As the judges found him guilty, Gurpreet stood there stoically and did not show any emotions. During his sentence, the defense tried their level best to save him from a death sentence.
Death is different. The statute mandates that Gurpreet will be severely punished for this crime. That is a fact. That is the law. We are here because the state is seeking to impose the ultimate sanction. The evidence will show that Gurpreet's history, character, and background is deserving of significant weight. He was caring and empathetic. Most importantly, he is a low risk for future violence.
The defense even called his spiritual guru to talk through an interpreter in his defense.
During your interactions with Gurpreet, did you feel as though he was committed to the tenets of the Sikh culture?
One of the tenets of the Sikh religion about drinking and living in a country like America, he was still a teetotaler. He did not drink alcohol.
Not only drinking, but even any other intoxicant. Nothing he never used.
Mr. Munich, Mr. Marshall, any questions for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Would infidelity or cheating on your wife be consistent with the Sikh culture or tenets?
It's very important to be faithful to your wife and to your family as per the tenets of the Sikh faith. This is a lifelong relationship between husband and wife, and both have to be faithful to one.
A relationship that only terminates upon death.
Yes. For sure, that's the way it is, yes.
During this trial, too, Gurpreet chose not to take the witness stand in his defense. This time, the judges deliberated for over 2 full days and delivered the sentence on May 10, 2023.
4 murders, 2 trials, and now 4 death sentences for Gurpreet Singh here in Butler County.
Currently, Gurpreet Singh remains on death row in Ohio, awaiting his execution. The victim's family expresses how they finally feel a sense of justice as he got what he deserved.
He never showed any emotions.
He was planning to commit this crime for many years. It's a little piece for my parents, like my family, so because that's what he deserved.
We couldn't stop our emotions. It was all tears. Everybody was crying. It was a real satisfaction. He has done a really heinous crime. He has no right to live one day. He has no right to live even 1 second. That's what we thought. That's what we worked for. He's not a good guy. He's a devil.
Gurpreet Singh's mother-in-law's brother still mourns for his lost sisters with his teary eyes.
Almost every day in the morning I cry when I think about my sisters. And whenever phone rings, I think it's one of my sisters calling.
This case highlighted the extreme heights of selfishness, where a person did not think twice before killing his own relatives and the mother of his children, all because of money and infidelity. With this, we ask you, were the reasons presented by prosecutors the actual reasons for killing, or was there something else?